Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Geek Studios. A little special episode we got for you this week. I am Joel. This person to the left or right of me, depending on how it shows up on the camera, is Sebastian. And today we're going to talk about charging. So this video is going to take a little bit different take than what we originally designed it to be. So originally, this was going to be just a simple charging test video of Sebastian's Ioniq 5 at Iona. We're just going to do a 10 to 80% charge session. We recorded it there. We had the footage there. We were going to post it. But we noticed during the charge session some anomalies. Would you call them anomalies, Sebastian?
Sure, that's what we can
Abnormalities?
call it.
I'll call them anomalies. And Sebastian was like, let's investigate this some more. So Sebastian did a bunch of other charging tests at DC fast charging stations to kind of see what was going on. And this kind of blossomed into something that we're going to start having on our channel and on our website for you. And I'll let Sebastian kind of talk about that. So Sebastian, kind of start us off with what happened with our first charge session that you noticed and how that kind of just started a snowball rolling downhill.
Yeah, so that first session, all in all, was a good session. Hyundai claims a 2023 Ioniq 5 will do 10 to 80% in 18 minutes, and it did 10 to 80% in 17 minutes and 46 seconds. Mm-hmm. So on paper, that seems perfectly fine. But there was a weird dip in the middle, and so I will go ahead and share my screen. And this is going to explode beyond this, just so you know. You've been warned.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Nope, not what I wanted. There we go. Boop. There we go. Can you see this?
Yes.
Okay, so let me make this a little bigger.
Yeah.
Boop.
There we go.
So you can see, that's actually not how I meant to make that bigger at all. I apparently don't know how to use a computer, Joel. I'm tired.
I mean, so it's a Sunday, so it's our normal day off, Sebastian. Okay. There you go.
So you can see I've just got this broken into 3 columns. I have state of charge on the left, our power in kilowatts on the middle, and then on the right, time elapsed. Pretty simple. So you can see we plugged in at 10%. We're immediately getting 162 kilowatts and no time had elapsed. Makes sense. As we go on, you can see we sat in the 190 range for a hot minute until about 30%, which was 4 minutes and 50 seconds later, and then jumped up in the 230 range. Cool.
Where we should
good.
be. Yep.
And then around 50%, 52%, it went from 233 to 151, which I was like, okay, I mean, could be just charge curve. And then from 151 to 127 and 129, but then it went up to 176. And so that's why I was pretty much immediately like, okay, well, that's obviously not typical charge curve. That's not what this is supposed to look like. But I went ahead and let it finish because I was just curious to see what it would affect overall. And as I mentioned, we did 80% in 17 minutes and 46 seconds, which is less than it said we should. I mean, that's less than Hyundai says, right? Mm-hmm. And so I was like, okay, so ultimately, good session. Could have been better. What's up with that?
So someone who's new to this and doesn't understand, explain what a charge curve should look like. Well, it's almost like climbing a mountain almost.
Yeah, there's really not an awesome definition of what it should look like. I can show you some examples of what we've got so far, but each vehicle, each manufacturer kind of looks at it at a different angle. Realistically, you're going to see down low, you're going to see the highest power, and then as you increase battery state of charge, your power should just kind of taper off some. Some manufacturers stair step a little bit, some just do a smooth taper, some fall off a cliff. You know, it just really depends on the vehicle. And so,
but you normally don't see a down and then an up,
right?
And then a down.
Once it's down, it's usually down.
Down, yes.
And so this is kind of that first test, and because of this, it led to me coming through here. And I charged my car several times, and now I have what I call the 2023 Ioniq 5 best run. So I want you to keep in mind, 10 to 80, 17 minutes, 46 seconds on this, what I'm calling weird run. Let's go look at the best run now. So best run, I actually did start at 10% again. And you can see right out the gate, 216 kilowatts. So, I mean, now, of course, that's right out the gate. We're at 40 some odd kilowatts more than I had before that. And you can see it sat at that 220, 230 range the entire way to 51%.
Mhm.
So just for comparison, so 8 minutes, 6 seconds to 51% here, and 9 minutes and 5 seconds here. Not that big of a difference, but
Mhm.
different nonetheless.
Mhm.
And then you can see here, after at 51%, it dropped to 195, 187, sat in 180s until like 60%, dropped to 170s, 160s, 150s, just very slowly tapered off. And you can see 10 to 80 on this session, 16 minutes and 47 seconds on
That's
a car
impressive.
that is allegedly an 18-minute 10 to 80 car. And so I did some light tweeting on the internet, tried to see if anyone else, and I've seen other people mention that they also have gotten less than 18, but no one could seem to recall if they've gotten less than 17 before. But
Mhm.
anyway, and because I was just fascinated at this point, I went ahead and charged to 100% this time because I just wanted to have the numbers. And so you can see it continues, holds 118 until about 83%, hits this point, which is what we lovingly refer to, and we and several others refer to as the Korean siesta. The car takes a little nap here at like 80-ish, 80, somewhere between 82 and 85% is what I've seen usually, where it goes from 118 to 4 kilowatts ish. And you can see it sat there for a couple minutes and then bounces back up 98, 117, 105, slowly tapers down. You can see 10 to 100% took 35 minutes,
Which is not bad. It's not bad
which
at
is
all.
not bad at all.
Yeah.
So, what am I doing with this? Why
Yes.
now that I've ripped the can of worms open,
Yep.
let's talk about what we're doing here. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. So this led me down a deep rabbit hole.
And
In trying to
it's been
figure
about
out
a 2 week, it's been about a 2 or 3 week rabbit hole he's been down in there in.
ways to graph and how I want to present like how to present data, whatever. And I have ended up with this. So let me come to this page. Boom. Share my screen. Wow. If you haven't seen this page before, this is our website. We have a
Yes, we
website.
have
I
a
think it looks
website,
pretty
everyone.
good.
It
Um,
does.
I'm pretty proud of it. I spent a while working on this earlier this year. Never haven't,
This is
I don't
this is
think we've ever really
2.0.
talked about it. Yeah, I don't
Nope,
think we've
this is
ever really
website
talked about it
2.0.
on this
Yep.
show.
We haven't.
Anyway, so you can see we've got this nice page with a nice picture, EX30 cross country. Love to see it. We've got some testimonials from people we've worked before. This is my favorite review we've ever gotten. Just these guys are really cool. Thanks, Mark.
Thank you, Mark.
Um,
Yep.
links to our various podcast things, and then an endless scroll widget that I got from Brandon Flash that will just endlessly load all of our videos in a little tile format until, of course, we scroll far enough to run out of videos.
Yes.
Um, anyway, you don't have to do all that. You can see it
We have
shows
a lot of
everything, and you can
videos,
click on any
Sebastian.
of them. It tells you how long they are, gives you titles, all that jazz. Anyway, love to see it. But up here, there's this new tab now called EV testing, and it's paginate. I've got it as a folder because ideally there will be more than one link under this in the future, but that's a different conversation for different days. And
Mhm.
now there's this link called EV charging curves. And if you click on this, and we'll have a link in the description to all this too, just so you know. You can see I have this little disclaimer about how I'm doing this. So if we're getting our data via OBD or vehicle display, we're going to perform tests in optimal conditions and highest power charger for car, unless noted otherwise. There's a reason that's in there. I'll tell you in a minute. It has filtering. We can hover over. And so this is where I ended up. So after trying multiple different softwares for graphing, I ended up on Tableau. Um, and that is what I'm using for graphs. And so you can see here, I have currently 4 vehicles listed, actually 2 vehicles, 4 different tests listed. And you can see on here, so I have my Ioniq 5 best run, that first run, which is the weird run, that probably won't stay on here forever. That's just mainly for this video so I could show off. We have my car at a Tesla supercharger, and we have your EV9 at a Tesla supercharger.
Mhm.
Um, so just since we're talking about Ioniq 5 for now, let me just go ahead. I'm going to use that cool filter feature. Boom, you can see now we can only see first run, which is here in orange, which is the weird run, and then the best run. And so you can really see a visual of how it just kind of, this one starts off strong, this one started off weirdly weak, and then finally got strong. But then this one had a weird dip here in the middle before largely returning to the same stair step. That said, you can see the best run, the blue line, is a bit smoother in how it
Mhm.
shifts power. You can see the Korean siesta, and then you can see it continue to smoothly power there. But you can see at 80%, or where is it? Where's 80? There we go. 80% on the first run was 17 minutes and 46 seconds. and 80% on the best run was 16 minutes and 47 seconds. And you can kind of see as you hover over, this is how I ended up on Tableau, is I wanted to be able to do these tooltips and have actual details for each run in the tooltips. You actually get on the tooltip state of charge, charge power, what vehicle, and the amount of time that had passed at that
Interesting.
point,
First, this is
which
the
I
first
felt
time I'm
was
seeing this
helpful.
too, so this is pretty cool.
And then I can go in here and add in. So if I add like the Ioniq 5 Tesla supercharger, this is the whole, it sits there at around 97 kilowatts the entire way until about 81%. And then it did a
Fiesta.
Korean siesta and then it goes back up. And then you can see it just follows the identical charge curve as
Hmm.
the non Tesla supercharger curve after that because it's getting more than 97 kilowatts. And then I can go ahead and add, this is your EV9, which you only had 80 to 10 to 100 or 80%. So I don't have data
Hmm.
beyond that. At some point, I would like to expand these out to all kind of have to 100%, but I digress.
Yep.
And you can see, so the EV9 with the bigger battery and the newer booster and all that, it actually holds around 120 kilowatts just flat at a Tesla supercharger. We will at some point do your car at an Ioniq station so we can give it full power and see
I'll be
how it
coming up here
goes.
soon. Yep.
Coming up soon. And then you can see if you scroll down on this page, I have that spreadsheet I was just showing you. So you'll be able to come into the spreadsheet if you really want to. I'll just kind of have an at a glance here where I'll just list models with their EPA rated range, the peak charge speed we saw, what their advertised battery size is, their advertised 10 to 80 times, and then how long it actually took us to do 10 to 80. And so you can see, like, on the best run, we actually beat the 10 to 80 time advertised. We were a little longer on the Tesla Supercharger, and you were a little longer on Tesla Supercharger in your car type
Yep.
thing. And then you can come here at the bottom and you can see the tabs with all the numbers that I was showing off before
Hmm.
on each vehicle. And then this sheet, which I need to actually hide, is what is being used by Tableau to build
Hmm.
the graphs. It's just going to be a very long document if I have it my way.
Yes.
So, what ultimately is the reason for this? We've talked a lot on this channel, especially as we've been reviewing cars, and we keep reviewing 2026 model year cars
Hmm.
with 150 kilowatt peak DC fast charging, or 10 to 80s in the 35-minute range or 40-minute range or whatever. And one of the very common things, we hear people talk about is like, well, I don't need a DC fast charge that fast. I don't go on trips that often, etc., which is a valid response, right? If you aren't worried about it, then yes, it maybe shouldn't influence you that much.
Hmm.
But I also don't feel like it's unreasonable to ask and expect car manufacturers to improve and to do better. And looking at this data, why is it that a car that has been on sale since the 2022 model year still charges better than almost any other EV for sale in the US market today?
4-year-old car.
Almost any.
Yep.
And it's, I
Yep.
mean, a 4-year-old car. It was launched for the 2022 model year. How is this still better than anything GM's putting out, or Ford, or Toyota, Subaru? There are cars that charge better. You have things like
Even
Gravity and the new
Tesla.
iX3 and whatever. Even Tesla.
Hmm.
How is Tesla still so far behind this on charge speed and whatnot? And so ultimately, I just want to be able to give a website that is very easy to use, and you can go in and compare and cross shop and whatever of and see just how they charge. At some point, I would like to maybe even add a graph to show miles of range added over amount of time charged, just to kind of give a more, because every car with a different battery size, different EPA rating, whatever, it might charge better, but it has less range, so it doesn't matter, and things like that. So it'd be kind of neat if
Hmm.
I could figure out how to get the numbers to be able to do, like, in 10 minutes of charging, this car adds this much range, this car adds this much range, this car, et cetera, et cetera. But that's going to require a little bit more work on my end, and that's why you see at the top of this page, this is still a work in progress, just to make it very clear that this could change and probably will change. Anyway, but yeah, this is all of this kind of just spurred from, as I've had my Ioniq 5, I have plenty of gripes about my car, don't get me wrong, but I still am blown away by the fact that it's still, for the money, I don't think can be beat on charge speed.
Correct.
Which is just baffling to me, because here we are 4 years later and we're still, like, celebrating Tesla kind of for having mediocre charging, and everyone's launching mediocre charging and people don't seem to care, but I'm like, you should. Because if you
Should.
don't care, then the automakers have no reason to innovate and to advance and to get better. And it's still the number one thing you hear people talk about on the switching to electric of being like, or I can put gas in my car in 5 minutes. That's still one of the number one arguments you hear. And
Mhm.
until we can cut down, whatever. And don't get me wrong, I understand it's like you don't need to think of it that way because you're coming home and you're charging your car at home, etc. But on the flip side, one of the also biggest things you talk about is what about people who can't charge at home? That is very much an issue with people that have apartments or in urban areas, etc. What if you can't charge at home? Faster charging can help alleviate that because if you're only having to take 5 or 10 minutes out of your week to go charge your car, that's not that bad, in my opinion, versus having to take 45 minutes to, 30, 45 minutes to charge your car. And if you can increase charge speeds on vehicles and we get to the point where all models charge really quick, 10, 15 minutes like an Ioniq 5 or whatever, then you can increase throughput through chargers and that helps you maybe not need as many chargers or DC fast chargers in areas. It's one of those things like if we can increase one thing, it should help in other areas too.
Totally agree.
Um, and so that's why it's like as much as people are like, well, I don't want to pick a car based on charge speed because I don't DC fast charge that often. Cool, whatever. But for the industry as a whole, I sincerely feel like this is somewhere that needs improvement, like majorly. Um, anyway, that's my soapbox. Joel, what else you got for me? What else you want to ask me?
So yeah, I mean, this is a good point because I went to Teslas and Tacos this weekend at an Evolve. You couldn't join us because you had other plans, but I met a guy there who drives a Prologue. He doesn't have home charging, and he
Mm-hmm.
talked about in the video charging. He actually knows everywhere in the city that offers free level 2 charging. And when he has the DC fast charge everything, I'm like, a Prologue doesn't have that. It doesn't have that great
Right.
charge
It's
speed. It's
150
a great
kilowatt peak
car. Yeah, it's the same as the Blazer and the Lyric and all those other ones
and
like
like
that.
probably like 40 minutes, 10 to 80.
Yeah. And it's something, honestly, we've been doing this channel 2 years now. And that's something we really haven't done a deep dive with and we know other channels out there have done it, and that's great. But people who watch our channels may not know this information. So I think it's a good way for us just to deliver more content to y'all, especially when we review a car, especially like when we had those Subarus out. We could have easily done a 10 to 80% charging speed on those
Mm-hmm.
Subarus because they were already at 15%, but we just didn't think about
Right.
it at the time. Yeah. So yeah,
That and we
but that's
just
kind
didn't
of,
have time. But that's one of the
yeah.
as we move forward, hopefully we can
Yep.
get more time and have more time and things like that.
Yes. And letting dealers and having dealers or people let us have cars that are at 10%. Because a lot of times they show up and say, hey, we charge it to 80. We're like, no, we don't need you to do that. We'll bring it back with a full tank. Just leave it low for us. And that's just great. Don't worry about charging it. I don't have to drive it around for an hour and a half and burn off energy and add miles to just to get it down to 10%. But yeah, so that's kind of like you'll see more videos about this 1080%. Where we'll be at an Ioniq station. We'll do the 1080%. And then Sebastian, in the description, will go ahead and put the link in there to this on their website for you to look at and compare. And so, oh yeah, I'm thinking about getting this car. What's the charge? How's it do 10 to 80 at DC fast charger or 10 to 100 at a DC fast charger? You can go in there and look and compare them and things like that. So question for you. Last question, Sebastian. The first charge we did was at an Ioniq station. Where was the second one?
The same one.
Oh, same one.
Same
Okay,
dispenser.
cool. Okay. Oh, same
Just
dispenser.
different
Look at
day.
that. Just okay, good.
Similar
'cause that's what
temperatures, car preconditions, like everything was as close to that first run as it could have been,
Mhm.
barring just anything that's completely out of control. But like similar temperatures, similar preconditioning, I think it was partly cloudy both days. Like it was as identical as I could make it, honestly.
Yep. All right. Anything else, Sebastian, you want to add before we sign out for the day?
No, just like you mentioned, we'll probably hopefully be doing this more, doing charge tests more. And in the future, if you see a video on it, it probably won't be as much me ranting about the state of DC fast charging and more just here's the data. Let's look at it analytically. Let's compare it to some cars in the same category of it. Bye, see you later. That type of thing. It probably won't be me just ranting. Although if there's a car that is egregiously bad for no reason, then you might get me ranting. Who
You might
knows?
get him ranting. Sebastian likes to rant. Yep. All right. Well, thank you all for joining us today. Don't forget before you leave to hit that subscribe button, tap that notification icon. Also, hype this video. That's a new thing. I don't know anything about these hyping videos, but evidently it helps. So it takes all of about 3 seconds to do. Just hit hype, get those points, and something magical happens in the world of YouTube. Sebastian, thank you for all that data and thank you for building out on the website for us. He handles all of that back office stuff. That is not me. I'm I'm the beauty of this. So I just run I'm the face. This is what you get. No, I'm just kidding. So yeah. All right, everyone. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you in another episode. So long, everyone.